Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So today we have a Roach Coach snack break short, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a set of 4 Riggers wedges. And I've talked about these before and shown them in some other videos, some kind of stray videos, but it's a really nice tool and anybody can make them, and if you have them on hand, you'll use them. If you have to make them up, lickety-split while you're in the middle of a job, you won't do it. So if you have these sitting aside and you're kind of ready to go, if you have to move your mill or move your lathe or just lift something heavy up, they're really nice to have around. So let's suit up and let's go bang a couple of these things out, and you guys can make your own. So let's go. Okay, so what we got here is this is just some construction grade Douglas fir 4x4s. So these are, 3.5 inch square, about 85 millimeter square, and they're 16 inches long. All right, so 400 millimeters long, something like that. So these are going to be our Riggers wedges. So what we're looking for when we pick out the wood is we don't want a bunch of knots or flaws in it. So these are pretty good here, and I generally prefer softwood for these because whatever you're lifting tends to bite into the surface, and you can make these out of hardwood, I'm sure. I've never played with a hardwood version of this, but some of you guys that are woodworkers out there could really make some pretty spiffy ones. We're just going to make some beaters here that we don't have to worry about. So the way I start out is I just mark off from one end 1.5 inches or 40 millimeters, something like that, and then on the opposite side the same thing. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to connect those two marks. And you know what? I'm going to use a Sharpie here, just because it makes a big fat line there. Okay, and we're just going to go over to the bandsaw. We're going to cut that, and we're going to end up with 2 wedges. And the length is important because we don't want this angle to be too steep this way. We want a nice long angle like that. That way, when you have a load on it this way, it doesn't want to slip. Okay, so I wouldn't make them much shorter than this, and if they're much longer than this, then they become kind of awkward to use. So in this size range is pretty good. And you can vary the amount here if you want. You can add a little more on just so you have a flat there if you want. But anyway, that's kind of the basic deal. So let's mark this one, and then we'll go over to the bandsaw, and we'll chop those off, and then we'll do a little belt sanding on them. And then I'll show you guys how these get used. Okay, we're over on the belt sander, and we're going to just belt sand this smooth, but I got to take the table off here real quick. Get that off. All right. table back on here, but I'm in a rush. So normally you'd put this in and you'd square it up, right? But I want to keep going on this video here. I'll square it up later. But what I want to do is I want to leave it so it's obviously not square, so that I remember that it's not square. So if you ever have to leave a machine that's out of tram or out of square or whatever, make sure that it's completely obvious, not almost square. That's the deadly position to leave an adjustment on a machine. So anyway, just leave it out of square. So I'll come up to it later. I'll go, oh hey, I got to square it, and I'll square it up, and I'll be done. Okay, so let's demo these things, these riggers wedges. So normally what I do is I just kind of lay them down, and, you know, on all four corners of the thing you want to lift, or all three corners, depending on what it is you're lifting. And the way we use those, this is just a pry block here, so I can get underneath that. So let's just go ahead and lift this thing up. This is the only thing I got right now that. Actually, let me get a little better bite on that, like so. And then you just start slipping those under there, okay? And then we come over here to this side. And we're going to do the same thing. Now this thing's rocking a little bit, but that's okay. So you just jam it under there. And you see what I just did there? You can reach over. There's no loose blocks to fart around with or anything, right? You can they're infinitely adjustable. That's the beauty of these things. It's a dog simple principle. And so we go from 0 all the way up to 3.5 inches pretty quickly. And you know, you just circulate your way around the table or whatever it is that you're lifting, and you just slowly lift it up and get it up to whatever height you need it to be. And if you're up in this range here, a standard pallet jack will fit under your whatever it is that you're lifting. Hopefully you can grab it with a pallet jack. Anyway, simple tool. Make yourself up a set. That way you have them when you need to move something or lift something up. Riggers wedges.